Okay. Well, not for a walk this morning. Uh, it's nice and cool, so I figured I take advantage of it to get a few steps in this morning and also just get a chance to record myself, get a little bit more practice in. And I also wanted to see how the audio sounds out here while I'm taking a walk with this lav. So it's a bit of an experiment. And at the same time, I do have some stuff on my mind, at least some personal reflections that I guess I try to, I guess I'm interested in trying to work out here. Also, it's just a good practice to go for a walk and talk where people can see you, right? It's another example of sort of trying to overcome that fear of exposure, of doing things kind of publicly. And eventually I might want to be able to do recordings outside while I walk, like getting a chest mount for my phone, going for a walk and recording myself. And at least right now that seems so silly to me, but I sort of want to do it anyway because I would really like to get to the point where I'm going out for walks in the morning every day where it gets hot. And I'd like to record myself with something more than just audio. But the only way that you can really do that was with a chest mount, or else like a GoPro that you attach to your hat or something like that. And I don't even wear hats. But anyway, so we're out here trying to do that. The thing I want to talk about today was that I guess just this extra stress that I've been feeling that at the same time seems so unnecessary, but it seems as though it's hard to escape, or at least it seems as though I might have to make some changes in order to kind of get away from this sense of stress. Now, I've gone from doing YouTube videos once or twice a week, which involve multiple takes and outlines and a sort of more polished content style. I've got away from that and gone towards creating daily content instead. So every other day I would say, a longer kind of video, somewhere around 40 minutes. So I talk for about 40 minutes on some question or topic that comes to my head. And then on my drive to work, which is about 10 minutes each way, I will pick a question. I usually have AI like generate some questions for me. And I'll just take a 10-minute shot, best I can at the question. And so you're talking about at least 2 recordings a day that I could post. And every other day it's 3, doing the long content. And the rhythm of posting that I'm doing right now is that I post a 40-minute video, and then I post a car video, 40-minute video, car video, because that's the way it is. And the car videos are sort of this backlog catalog of videos that I can post to the channel in case I'm not able to post a longer style video. So for instance, I'll be going on vacation to Colorado in a week or so, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do, I may be able to do 1 or 2 of the sort of long form or the sort of longer videos. But in fact, I think I'll for sure be able to do a long video while I'm driving in the car, because it's a 10-hour drive both ways. So I think I'd be able to do a longer style kind of video then. So that'd be 2 videos there that I could put out. And maybe I'll be able to do one while I'm there. And maybe I'll be able to post a street preaching video as well. And that's the other thing. On Fridays and Saturdays every week, I do street preaching. And that's usually around an hour. And I'll live stream that. And that'll also be a video that I put up. So you're talking about daily content posting with these videos. And then with the long videos and the car videos, we're actually with really all the long form content, the street preaching, car videos, and the longer videos, I'll cut shorts. I'll cut 1 to 3 shorts from those videos, depending on how good they are. And I use a editing app called Riverside, and it makes it pretty easy to get the shorts, because it sort of finds the punchy moments in your own videos, cuts them. I do a little bit of editing within that, just to take out the filler words and try to make it land even harder than what Riverside is giving me. So I'll edit it a little bit and post those. And that's where actually I drive a lot of the traffic from. and even subscribers from is from the shorts. And then I'm hoping over time that'll help to compound into greater long-term, greater viewership of the long videos, because that's ultimately where I want my audience to go, to gravitate towards, just because the philosophical, theological ideas, the kinds of reflections, they only go so far in a short, because you've got, probably less than 60 minutes to actually, get your point across, right? And it's not exactly conducive to conversation or philosophy. So anyway, I'm gravitated towards this basically daily content style of posting, and the reason I've been able to do that is because I've shifted the style of making the content itself. Again, originally I was going for a more polished content style, and now, kind of in line with what I want the channel to be, I'm gravitating towards a live thinking, conversational style, authentic, authentic style of recording, where I just take the topic and go off the top of my head. I want it to kind of mimic, as close as I can get it on YouTube, to live thinking, to the experience of perhaps walking up to a friend or a stranger, them asking me this question, and me giving them a response. So that's the kind of style I want to do. And it's a style I want to do really regardless of whether or not that impacts the growth of the channel, because I don't want to curate it. Part of my philosophical approach is this authentic exposure, and the first and foremost purpose of the YouTube channel is really not getting famous, blowing up, or something like that, or even growing a following. But the main purpose of the channel right now is to help me practice speaking, to help me practice articulating my ideas, my philosophical and religious ideas, because I've done quite a bit of writing in my life up to this point. And in my writing, I feel relatively confident. I mean, it's not, I don't know, masterful prose all the time, but in my writing, I feel pretty confident to be able to explain my ideas, especially if I take my time with it. I can really lay it out. I feel confident in that. But essentially, because I've had little to no exposure to explaining my ideas out loud to people, I have difficulty doing that. I have difficulty just explaining my ideas locally, and it's sort of a different tool. It's a different instrument, so to speak. So even if I know the music, playing this different instrument is a little bit tricky, learning it. And when I was younger, when I was late teens, early 20s, I had more people around me whom I would talk about these ideas towards, right? So back then, I feel like, I felt much more articulate. I felt much more confident in talking about ideas with people, because I was having regular exposure of having to explain these ideas to people in real time conversation. I don't want to get back there. I want to have that kind of deliberate practice of talking about my ideas, working through them in real time. Trying to, I guess, not necessarily sticking with whatever idea I have, but by talking through it, really testing it. Right. The first test is, okay, can I explain this concept to myself? And if I can't, revising it. Right. So this real time kind of conversation where not only am I trying to figure out how I talk about my ideas, but I'm actually testing them and trying to figure out the truth about them and updating them, and perhaps in the videos backtracking and figuring out what it is I'm talking about kind of in the moment. And this is in line with that sense of authentic exposure. I want to really drive home the fact that a thinker, a philosopher, a writer, whatnot did not sort of come out of the womb as a fully fledged thinker, but had to develop over time. And I want to expose that development as best as I can within this given medium. And I think, why not at the same time let people watch it? Right? Why not at the same time use that to start to build some kind of base of viewership or trust or whatnot, right? And there's no expectations of it like I don't know, going viral or going crazy or something like that. Or at least I don't want that kind of expectation. I assume posting daily for years will garner some kind of following and attention, especially as YouTube sort of figures out my audience. But I don't want to have the expectation of, I don't know, becoming well known or getting a lot of traction on the platform. And that's really not the purpose of it. And particularly recently, I've been putting the Christian-centered stuff on there more explicitly. Like, for instance, I posted my first video from street preaching on there, and cut some clips from there. And of course, that's an entirely different style from the other videos that I've posted on there. In the other videos, when I'm talking philosophically, theologically, there's doubt, there's backtracking, there's a sense of, again, trying to figure things out in real time. But when I'm street preaching, it's something that I believe in quite strongly. It's something that I have resolute faith in. It's not a question of doubt or wondering. And the gospel message in and of itself is very simple. It's very plain. And morning. It's very simple and it's very plain. And I speak it with confidence. And that's really the attempt, or that's really what I'm going for when I'm street preaching, is I am telling you the truth, right? I am telling you what God has said in His Word. I am giving you the gospel message that God has revealed to us through His Son, Jesus Christ. So it's very much more, you might say, dogmatic, and purposefully so, self-consciously so, compared to the philosophical videos and the kind of live thinking. And I started to post that there, and I started doing this around the same time that I was posting daily. And it really hasn't been that long. Like, I would say perhaps not even really a full week. So I'm really getting ahead of myself here. But, each video seems to have dipped in views somewhat significantly. Like, the average number of views that I would have gotten on my shorts, for example, would be up around between, I want to say, 400 and 700 views, and sometimes they would reach higher than that. They reach like 1,000 or something like that. And now with the Christian content there and the daily posting, a lot of them have bottomed out at 30, 50. I think one that performed well recently was like 140. So lower numbers. I'm getting more. Well, I don't know. Anyway, like each individual video has seemed to perform like significantly worse. And again, I don't know if ultimately, I don't know if I mind that, but it makes me curious about, okay, what is driving it, right? Is that YouTube trying to recalibrate what my channel is about, right? Like, is that YouTube trying to figure out, okay, so he was posting these kinds of videos that attract these kinds of people, and now he's posting those same videos mixed in with these Christian videos that are a different tone, a different subject matter, a different style, so to speak, and now trying to figure out where to place me? Or is it trying to calibrate the frequency of videos to where maybe I was doing it once or twice a week with shorts filling in the gaps on those days. So now I'm posting long form content every single day with shorts every single day that are cut from those videos. Is that kind of upward frequency of posting content, is that tripping up the algorithm? Right? And like, my subscribership numbers haven't been all that different. I guess that they're a lower frequency. I when I first posted the street preaching video, I lost a subscriber, but then a short that I cut from that gave me 2 subscribers. But many of those shorts have been performing pretty low, and they haven't gained me. I'm not gaining subscribers, I guess, as quickly as I had. I'm still positive. I'm not necessarily losing in the net analysis, but it definitely is slower, or it feels slower. Anyway, one of the things that was sort of pointed out to me was that I might be getting about the same amount of views and growth as I was before, but now it's just spread among more content, more videos. And that might be true. I don't know. So I guess all these kinds of changes, both changes in how I'm producing content and changes in how the analytics are reflecting in that content over time. Again, maybe, over the course of like a week and a half. So it's way too early to tell. And I'm probably just being impatient when it comes to that. But the real point that I'm trying to bring up here is not so much to worry about. It's not so much the analytics themselves. It's not so much about the growth itself. It's that within me, there's this tension that I'm having in regard to this YouTube channel, where I'm very much I feel very much attached to the outcome in one sense or another. I feel very much worried, and I worry about the analytics. I worry about the response that I'm going to get from people. I worry about I worry about whether I'm going to get views. I worry about whether I'm going to get subscribers. I worry about whether people are going to judge the content. I worry about, whether or not the Christian stuff is going to drive people away. And that worry is kind of constantly in the background of my mind throughout my day. Regardless of whether I'm looking at the analytics or not, regardless of whether I'm recording that day or not, it's kind of always in the back of my head. And I feel in one sense, I felt stressed by it. I felt stressed by the sense of, like, I don't know, am I doing enough, right? Am I doing a good job? Like, is this channel going to be successful? And that's a weird mindset for me, because that wasn't really the intention of making the channel in the first place. I didn't come with the intention of like, oh yeah, that's going to be successful. It's more like this kind of hobby, or that's more like this sense of, again, trying to improve these skills that I'm having. And I might as well post it, right? Because it might grow an audience. And so really what I notice in myself is two senses pulling in the opposite direction. On the one hand, there is this real desire, and this is not a desire I can ignore, or yeah, it's not a desire I can ignore, where I want the channel to be successful. I mean, I want to have tons of viewerships and tons of subscribers, and for the channel to be successful, and for people to, really like and dig what I'm doing on there. And at the same time, I want to be detached from it. Like, I want to be able to have this attitude towards the channel where I post my content and I walk away. I don't really think about it the rest of the day, regardless of what the analytics do, regardless of what the response is. I kind of just, set it and forget it. I record and don't think about it the rest of the day. After I've made the thumbnail, after I've set the tags and everything like that, as soon as I've done, what the basics of the video, and posted it, confident enough to post it, so to speak, I just want to not think about it for the rest of the day. Not think about, I don't know how I need to improve it, or whether or not my views and my subscribers are going to tank. And those worries also just seem so out of place because the channel is so new. I mean, I've only been consistently posting probably for 2 months, experimenting with different kinds of things. And I'm not really at a place where it makes sense to worry about that. I don't even know if I've been on long enough for the analytics to make sense yet. I don't know if I've been doing it long enough for YouTube to even capture the kind of audience that I'm going after. I mean, for all I know, it's probably just shooting it out to randoms, right? And the kinds of things that I'm doing is not necessarily going to attract those kinds of people. But it's weird, because when you start posting new stuff or more frequently, or whatever, I've just noticed, the swipe away rate is higher. The time that people spent watching the video seems to be lower. And I don't really, now I guess that worries me, because there is this part of me that wants the channel to succeed. There's a part of me that wants to see number go up and not number go down. And that is fighting with the part of me that just wants to be unattached to it and detached from it. And I think part of the biggest driver here is the analytics themselves, right? Like the it is the analytics itself. Like, I used to have the YouTube analytics on my, well, not even used to. I had the YouTube analytics on my, like, download on my phone, the YouTube Studio, and kind of take a look at on my phone up until last night. And I would find myself kind of obsessively checking, seeing whether the views are going to tick up or not. Every time you go on there, the views had been basically unchanged. And, it wouldn't be until I went to bed and woke up the day that you could have really any visible movement in the analytics. So clearly it takes time, perhaps days, if not a week or more, to understand the full, I guess, picture when it comes to any given video or even any given short or whatever. And yet I was checking every day. It was like this kind of like dopamine hit, right? Because every time you see number go up, then, I don't know, you're constantly checking it. So I just took it off my phone. Last night, because I was like, this is not good. This is like kind of sucking me in. And, when it came to that kind of thing with other social media apps, I just got rid of them, right? I remember when I was a teenager, I think I was on Facebook, and being a teenager, just being on there all the time, arguing with people, and coming to the realization of like, wow, this is just not what I want to be doing with my life. And you don't even change people's minds like this anyway, so I'm not really going to argue with them, right? So getting off that completely. And but that's not the only access to the analytics are. There's the access that you can have just like on your laptop going to the YouTube channel, right? And YouTube and Twitch is something I've gotten used to watching when I wake up. So when I wake up and have my coffee and water and breakfast, I'll usually for like an hour or so, I'll watch YouTube or Twitch before I get kind of started with my work. And I don't know, I've always gone back and forth with this, like, should I do something else with that time? And there's a part of me that wants to sort of fill it up with as much as you can, and to qualify it as productive. Like, this has to be productive time. But then you can do that with your whole day, and then suddenly you're trying to fill out your whole day with productivity, and that just really doesn't. There's not much benefit to that ultimately, right? You want kind of structured relaxation time. But I don't like being on YouTube or I don't like even being on the laptop in the morning, because I want to go check the analytics. And so I'm kind of like exposed to it in that way. And now I'm thinking, man, I think I might have to replace this this morning habit of watching something on my laptop, because I really can't help myself checking the analytics. And that's causing me all this like stress about, I guess, what, how the channel is doing and things like that. That's just really not what I want. It's really not worth it. I don't want to give up making the videos because I really enjoy that. And yeah, I really enjoy making them and putting them out in places. I enjoy many of the comments and criticisms that I get, like the actual fan interaction, or not fan, but the actual interactions of the people on your channel. That's that's cool to see. And I like interacting with them, which is the other disappointing thing about the analytics, is that if you want to interact with the comments, or if you want to see the comments in an organized way, that gets you onto the analytics. So they're always kind of drawing you into it, the way it's structured. And maybe that's just my brain. But if I want to, create this rut, if I want to create this pathway in my brain of my relationship to YouTube and relationship to posting and relationship to the analytics, if I want it to be set it and forget it, I need to kind of distance myself as much as possible from it. Like, maybe just setting a limit for myself, like 15 minutes on the days where I do recordings or something like that, might be helpful. I'm gonna have to play around with that, but I really want to get back to this attitude of set it and forget it, because I don't want to be constantly stressed out and worried about that. And there hasn't even been enough time of me regularly posting in a consistent way, consistent pattern with, I guess, consistent content, for those analytics to even reflect what I'm doing. I think accurately, right? Where I could get useful information from. So at this stage of the game, so to speak, is not really any. There's not much use to it at all. And so like this morning, I think I tried. Well, this morning I listened to an audiobook instead, which might be what I do. I like to go out for a walk and maybe record myself in the mornings too. The only problem, and I can do that for a while, and that'll actually be nice through the late summer, early fall, early winter months. But eventually, it just gets so cold here that you can't do that, right? I can't go out for a walk comfortably when it's negative 50 wind chill, and a significant amount of the year here is too cold to kind of go out for a walk in the morning. So I have to find something. I have to find something that is other than going out for a walk and talking and chatting. And that works for now. Maybe you can't even go on the porch to do it. I mean, maybe I'll walk around my apartment and do that. I don't know. Or maybe I have a walking pad. Maybe I could use that and to get me through the winter months. I don't know. I'll have to, I guess, I can figure something out, whether it's listening to an audiobook or doing a recording or something like that. I just want to get away from the YouTube analytics in particular. I already have, that's the other thing. I already have like Sundays where, Sundays is pretty much a complete rest day. So I get up and do, I don't know, pretty much whatever I want, and then go to church, and then come home, and me and my wife, we do whatever we want, right? So go out for lunch or hang around the house, watch a movie, something like that. I try not to work on those days. Though I'm sometimes tempted, especially the video stuff, because I can do that from the computer. Sometimes tempted, but I'm thinking particularly if I'm gonna get rid of the YouTube Twitch thing in the morning for something else, then I am probably better off, 100% better off just not doing any work on Sunday. Having that complete kind of rest day. I don't even work out on Sundays. I think that's the solution, because I ultimately want to be detached from the analytics and the outcome when it comes to the YouTube channel, especially at this early stage. If it started to get real traction, maybe I'd start worrying about something like that. And eventually, I'd want to get to the place where like I hire somebody to worry about that stuff for me, right? And I don't have to worry about it directly myself. But that would be if the channel got really successful, which is just, outside of my time horizon right now, right? Completely outside of my time horizon. And is not really the main point of the channel at all. So I want to be detached from it. I want to be detached in the same way I'm detached when it comes to my writing and my street preaching. Like when I go out street preaching, I don't go out there with the expectation that I'm going to be, the next Billy Graham and people are just going to come, in droves giving their heart to Jesus on the street. You can't have that mindset going out there. Most people, when you street preach, they treat you with indifference or criticism. And, some people are positive. Of all the times I've done it, I haven't gotten one person in that moment to come forward and give their heart to Jesus. Partly that's, I'm new to it in a lot of ways. But I have been able to share the gospel with a lot of people. A lot of people have heard scripture. Many people have taken Bibles and crosses. And this is that kind of, you planting the seeds, some phrase I say, some scripture I quote, or something they read in that Bible, might remind them in, a couple of weeks or a couple of years of God's calling, of Jesus's calling to them. And that could be the thing that brings them to Christ. One of the things that we know from scripture is that whenever God's word goes out, it never goes out in vain. It never goes out. It never goes out and doesn't move something or change something. And my job as a street evangelist is not to go out there and, count the numbers of people necessarily. It's to go out there and be obedient in sharing God's message, obedient in sharing the gospel, and then allowing God to do the work trusting God is going to do what he's going to do with that, and knowing that God is all powerful and all good, that he's in control, and that he's going to use that for whatever good outcome he's going to use for that. And that might be planting his seeds. That might be somebody in that moment, coming to to Jesus. I think one of the things I say out there sometimes is, even if you can't do it right now in front of your friends and your family, tonight when you go home, ask God genuinely to reveal himself to you. And who knows how many people have taken me up on that offer. I don't know. I'll know when I get to heaven, right? But I know that whenever you go out, you preach the word, you preach the gospel, you preach the salvation of Jesus, that God uses that for good. And so I can be really detached from the ultimate outcome of anything, so long as I'm up there doing my best to preach the gospel simply and accurately, and I guess being willing to have conversations with people, being willing to expose myself, be willing to go to the highways and the byways, then God is going to be faithful to me. I mean, God's faithful to me regardless of whether I do it or not. But I know that what Jesus has called me to do is go out and make disciples, and how that looks isn't necessarily going to live up to my expectations, right? But it's not about my expectations. It's not about an outcome. It's about being obedient to God's calling for you. So it's a very, very detached frame of mind. It's significantly more detached than even I would want to be from YouTube, because I would want to sort of, or at least when it comes to YouTube, I sort of package it in the way that I want to. And then instead of packaging it in the way that God wants you to, in one sense, well, I don't know. God hasn't exactly given any scriptures when it relates to YouTube, so to speak. But I package it in the way that is useful, and then I put it out there. But from there, I want to be kind of detached, significantly detached. But kind of the same thing with my writing, where with my writing, I'll format the book and the editing such that it's not confusing to read, and that there is clarity. But I'm not trying to be so clear that it I don't know, flattens the message, so to speak, of the philosophy book. Nor am I trying to be so clear that I 100% absolutely prove the case, because much of the book is just painting a kind of picture. But I'm pretty detached from the outcome, and so to speak. I'm going to write the book, and I'm going to try to get it published in a traditional way. But whether it flops or not, I don't really care. That's not the point of writing the book. The book is kind of to lay out my ideas and to have it out there for people who want a reference. And whether it's successful in my lifetime or not, really successful ever, is really besides the point. And besides that, I'm so far away from the ultimate outcome of that I have no idea. I have no ability to actually predict its success or lack of success. And again, that's not really the point of writing the book. So I am significantly detached from the outcome. So in my other creative pursuits, I am significantly detached for one reason or another from the ultimate outcome of their quote unquote success. And that's kind of how I always want it to be. I kind of always want to be kind of detached from it, because worrying about the outcome, it just, at least in my experience, it consumes you, and it makes it too strongly incentivizes me, at least. Maybe it doesn't really affect other people at all, but it too strongly influences me to try to change the content or something in order to make it more palatable to the everyman, right? To the common man. And there's nothing wrong with making content, by the way, for the common man, or the everyman, or whatnot. But if that's what you're trying to do, if you want fame and money, then I think ultimately you're going to find those things kind of empty. But plenty of people pursue that. But that's not really my attitude towards life. I'd rather be authentic to what I'm trying to do, rather than changing it to sort of fit people's tastes. And there's a little bit of give that you involve in it, by trying to, again, packaging it nicely, trying to make it clear, trying to make it as good as you can for other people. But if you're actually touching the message of the content, if you start to change what it is that you're trying to say or do, that's when it starts to stray into an inauthenticity, and I don't know, a sense in which you're just trying to create content to be consumed, rather than to do whatever it is that you're trying to do with it. In my case, it's this kind of authentic exposure, It's this development of ideas, which can sometimes be challenging or controversial, but sometimes are not. Trying to create that, space for ongoing conversation and development that can be reflected over time. And when I'm sort of attached to the outcome, then I'm tempted to change it, right? If I was attached to the outcome when I was preaching, I'd be tempted to soften the message, or I'd be tempted to be talking about something else. I mean, a lot of people, when you go out preaching the gospel on the street, they don't give you a positive response. I would say that the negative response and the indifference far outweighs the positive response. You kind of do it for the positive response, or at least you do it to be obedient to God. But if I was out there trying to, preach for popularity, then I would completely corrupt the actual message, the actual gospel. I mean, the idea that people are sinners and that there's the ultimate costs of their sin is hell, and that somebody else has to rescue them because they're not powerful enough to overcome it themselves, is not a very flattering message to those people. And of course, there's the whole, cultural expectations around street preaching that make people prejudiced to it to begin with. So it's not exactly, most people don't respond positively to it. And that's in one sense understandable. But if I don't preach the message, the actual truth of God's word, then I preach in vain. I mean, there's no point to it because I'm just talking about lies. I'm going to just be spewing lies at that point and deceiving people and leading them away. Not to say that everything I say up there is necessarily accurate. And of course, I have my own human understanding of the gospel and my limitations and mistakes. But my intention is to go out there and, as far as I can, faithfully preach the gospel, as far as I understand it, or as far as it's been revealed to me by God through the Spirit, and not to deceive, right? Not to try to be popular necessarily, but try to preach the message. Same thing with a book. I can try to write a book that is popular, write a book that everybody would nod their heads in agreement with, and sort of eat up, right? But to write a book in that frame is to betray the truth that I'm trying to conceive, the philosophical truth that I'm trying to tell people about, right? There's no point in writing a philosophical book if I'm not going to pay attention to the truth. If I'm not going to pay attention to what I see as reality, right? Which can sometimes be challenging and offensive to the people around you, or the people who read it, people who expose it, or people who are getting to judge it without trying to understand it. But, and of course, philosophically, my arguments may not be great, or I might be wrong, or I might have an imperfect perspective. Again, I'm a limited human being with limited knowledge and a limited mind. And what I'm doing with this book is trying to make the best case that I can in terms of what I understand, and put it out there for the people to read and criticize and whatnot. So there's bound to be mistakes, so to speak. But the intention there is to keep it honest. The intention there is to keep it true to what it is I am saying, to what it is I really think about, whatever given topic that, I'm writing about that day, or the book as a whole. And so the book may not be perfect, but the book is honest. The street preaching might not be perfect, but it is honest. And it's not billed as something which is meant to, catch the attention of people, or arouse their favor, or go viral, or anything like that. It's first and foremost something which is honest and authentic to what I truly believe. And secondarily, it might have value to other people. Now, you write it for the sake of other people. I mean, if I wasn't interested in other people regarding it, so to speak, then I wouldn't be writing it, right? And the same thing with the preaching. Like I preach to be obedient to God mainly, but I would say secondarily, I preach for the sake of other people. I mean, God doesn't really need me to save people, right? He doesn't need me to go out there to preach the gospel in order for people to be saved. I'm just I'm just a broken human being. He doesn't need me to achieve the work of salvation. I get to participate in God's work. I get to, despite my sin, because of God's grace, despite my brokenness, because of God's grace, I get to participate in the work of salvation through the preaching of the gospel. and in that way, I can be thankful to God and have that opportunity. But it is, in one sense, for the sake of other people to hear. I'm not exactly going into my room and preaching to a wall, right? I want the people around me to hear the message that I'm trying to say. But the primary thing is to be obedient and faithful to God's principle, to God's message, to the gospel, and then to share it, right? And there's different ways of structuring the truth so that it's more or less persuasive, or more or less clear, or more or less something which can be understood by others. But if it ever gets structured in a way that betrays the honesty, if it ever gets structured in a way that betrays the gospel, then again, I do it in vain, right? I do it to no purpose. And this is honestly, this is the exact same understanding that I ought to bring to the YouTube videos. The purpose of them is to be honest, right? The purpose of them is to have authentic exposure. The purpose of them is to have it as close to real-time thinking, a real sort of slice of life perspective on I guess my thoughts or whatever. And that's what the channel is. I mean, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's valuable or not, that is what the channel is. And that will include the car recordings, that will include the recordings, the more longer form recordings that I do. That will include the live street preaching and whatnot. And so I want to stick to that, right? I want to stick to that honesty and that authenticity as far as I can. I'm not going to be perfect, clearly, but that's the direction that I'm perpetually trying to go. And I think, again, the analytics, it can incentivize you in the opposite direction. It can incentivize you away from honesty and authenticity towards conforming into yourself to what you think people might want, right? Might want out of you, or out of other people, or at least whatever it is that you're trying to say. So anyway, I think I pretty much resolve that here in this conversation. I got some strategies I can go ahead forward with, just really keeping away from the analytics, and really trying to assert that pattern of set it and forget it, let it be what it's going to be, and really just go from there. But anyway, I'm going to end this here. So I don't know if I'm going to post this or not, since it is only audio, and maybe I'll have to figure out how I can, I don't know, maybe do like an overlay or something on this. I could post it as a YouTube video, because this is part of what I want to show people, just kind of even the internal struggle over even my own personal struggle of authenticity versus the analytics, and how that develops over time. So maybe I'll record this, put an overlay, so or maybe I'll post this and do an overlay. So if I have posted this, then I just want to thank you for listening. And if you like this, please give it a like. If you think this conversation might be helpful to somebody else, then please share it with them. And if you want more content like this, then please subscribe. And as always, thank you for listening.